or get us going with some words on loving kindness in a kind of directed way. This formulation for metta is from Bhante Gunaratana, actually. And curious little story. I heard my preceptor, Lumpur Pasanno from Abhayagiri, give a talk. It was a videoed talk just recently. And he used this. And I thought, my goodness, that's the one I do. And I can recall years and years ago kind of composing some of this because I was thinking of directing love and kindness to my mother, and so I composed it at that time. And then I listened to his talk again, and turns out it was from Bhante Gunaratana. So I can only surmise that I've been using it. I've been using Bhante Ji's version, lovely version, for so long that I had just completely forgotten its provenance. So it's very sweet. And this is the version that I recall from him. I mean, I've made alterations for other circumstances, but this is the version. So if everyone just composes themselves and make yourself comfortable, maybe take a couple of relaxing breaths. Settle yourself in your chair or your cushion, wherever you are. Take note of the fact that you're hopefully in a quiet place without too many distractions, even though I suppose most of you are in your home. And so, in a sense, everything reminds you of something. And maybe some things remind you of dusting or vacuuming needed or whatever. But of course, we need to keep things simple here. So just let all of that go and enjoy the space you've created. So you can, I'll just recite this slowly, and you can repeat it in your mind if you like. I'll just use the first person, and you can do the same. May I be well, peaceful, and happy. May no harm come to me. May no difficulty come to me. May I always meet with spiritual success. May I have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. May I always meet them with virtue and integrity, kindness and compassion, mindfulness and wisdom. And we'll just repeat these phrases. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to me. May no difficulty come to me. May I always meet with spiritual success. May I have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. May I always meet them with virtue and integrity, kindness and compassion, and with mindfulness and wisdom. May all beings in each of the four directions, above and below, all points in between, be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to them. May no difficulty come to them. May they always meet with spiritual success. May they have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. May they always meet them with virtue and integrity, kindness and compassion, with mindfulness and wisdom. So as you feel guided, you can continue these kinds of reflections, or allow your attention to move quite naturally to the breath or your regular subject of mindfulness that you use. And I will clear my throat at the end of this. I don't have a bell. we'll just sit for another few minutes. Just observe the breath or the theme of loving kindness. Continue to do that. Bring your attention back, perhaps if it was wandering at all. Spend just a moment to straighten the spine a bit. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I would like to ask Nu Wa if she would kindly request the Dharma talk.
Brahma Chaloka Dipati Sahampati Kahatan Chaliya Diwarang Ayachata Santi Dasatha Paraja Kajatika Dese tu Dhammam Anukampimam Pajam.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammam sangham namasami. So, news from the monastery, just to set the stage. We're nearing the end of this year's rains retreat, monastic rains retreat. We, in the West, we follow the Asian tradition that the Buddha established. So in just over a week, actually, our rains will be over. And soon after that, Lumpur Dhamma will be flying to Asia to lead retreats and give talks in Thailand and Malaysia and Singapore. I haven't been in this position for very often, well, only once in a couple of months, and because of my condition. And so I was thinking of themes and things to say and what direction to take and that. And then we had Lumpur and Venerable Sirimedu and I had a short meeting in the office an hour or so ago about the latest. As most of you know, I think we're building a Dhamma hall here for meditation, and it's as it slowly takes shape and now is taking on color as well. There's this growing anticipation and pleasure, excitement at what it will offer the monastery. So this particular meeting was regarding landscaping, and it's a big job because it won't just be kind of putting rocks around the Dhamma hall itself, but actually it's envisioning the entire main buildings as somehow some sort of cohesive landscaping project, which will draw all of these buildings together and make sense of parking. And we have to have a bigger driveway so that fire trucks can use it if needed. And there are a lot of stipulations that will have to be met. So an initial meeting with a landscape architect occurred today, and so we were going through that. And somewhat impertinently, at the end of it, I said, Lumpur, I need a theme for tonight's Dhamma talk. And he said, coming together. How's that? So why not? I thought, what can I do? What can I do with this theme? We know when things are coming together, or we sense it, I guess. We anticipate when things are coming together in the world, when maybe some plans we had are starting to coalesce, and we can discern some progress. Something is beginning to there's a bit of momentum beginning to occur. We can maybe see the if not the what are runners, the end. If we can't see the end tape, breaking the tape of a sprint or whatever, we can maybe at least see the midway of this endeavor. So something about us gives something about the project that we're involved in, whatever it is, gives us some confidence to continue and some sense of direction that it's going well, that in fact that direction is headed in the right manner. And that entails a sense of that, the preconditions that we maybe gave a lot of attention to some time back actually were reasonably well met, and that's good. So they are fulfilling their role in things as they unfold. So a lot of things occur, I suppose, in that kind of in the phenomenon or the phenomenology of things coming together. Quite often, I think most monks get asked, well, how do I establish a daily practice, and what do we do to make things work properly, and when is samadhi, what are the signs of samadhi deepening, and what am I doing wrong with this and that? And that's a those are fairly common themes in that arise in situations like tonight's. And I'm not sure I've often been asked or ever been asked, actually, when will I know that things are coming together? When will I know that? So I'll have to think of some things, won't I? there are signs that make there are preconditions for things coming together. The phenomenon of feeling like things are coming together. There are preconditions for it. One is that we don't have fixed views about what is supposed to be happening in meditation. That helps a lot. A sense of modesty, some humility, I would say, is a very important. Maybe this is another precondition. Maybe it bleeds in perfectly with the notion of not having fixed ideas about what's supposed to happen. There are other preconditions as well, and these are discussed, you'll know, very often. One is maybe would be a question asked back to the questioner. Are you attending to your virtue as best you can? That will be a very important precondition and condition throughout the process. What is your virtue? How does it feel? The quality of your speech. What is it? What would you say about it in general? The conversations of the day, and maybe sometimes how you meet with a bit of criticism. How is that going for you? Right view, of course, the direction. So another sense of how things are going as well. Where are the, where in a general sense, does it feel like they're going, and does that feel good? Does it feel that things are working out in some sort of appropriate way? That will have something to do with our view. Our view of what meditation is, where it belongs in our spiritual life, what the Buddha had to say about the value of meditation, about its purpose, and of course, what directions did he give, and so how well is it? How easily do we find it? Do we find fulfilling these directions? Is everything a challenge? Are some things getting a little easier? Or do we feel that they have become a little more natural than they once did? Riding a bicycle, it's at first it's really tricky. Two wheels, getting over there, keeping your balance. One day it just becomes quite natural and easy. So some elements of meditation may be like this as well. When it's brand new, all of the things, your posture, how to apply your mind, how to somehow draw your attention to something like the breath and keep it there with some degree of efficiency. All of these things feel very unnatural. Do they still feel so unnatural, unwieldy? Is the mind still as resistant as it once was, perhaps, to doing this? Maybe, maybe not, or at least not so often. So what do things feel like when for a day or for a meditation or on reflection, when reflecting on one's spiritual life, what things are fulfilled when we have a sense that, well, as best as I can do it, things, some of these things are coming together. There's something, there's a bit of progress here. There seems to be some movement towards a healthy direction. What would that look like? It requires, I think, a lot of self-reflection just an ability from time to time to set and to sit and very honestly, and I would say also gently, reflect on how things are. Again, in terms of your virtue and what it is that you feel this practice is directed towards. What you're looking for, without demanding it, without expecting it. But what kinds of things would you be looking for in practice? Things to be coming together. Sometimes a reflection requires a good dose of memory. You remember how things were before you entered this path, if you want to use those terms. How were they before you actually encountered some teachings on meditation and Buddhist practice, Buddhist life, the Buddhist orientation towards living? What were things like at that time? And are the struggles that you face now, are they the same? Do they feel the same? Are they met with? Are they not met with somewhat more refined qualities of character, of patience, and so on? It often occurs to me that one of the great gifts we give ourselves as practitioners is from time to time observing the sense of progress that we have made. That is being honest and seeing, in fact, that there is maybe a deepening well of patience in us, or that the quality of our speech or conversation is becoming more refined. The ease with which we are around people, and maybe the degree to which it becomes more and more natural to do or say things which are helpful. That spirit of generosity. These kinds of things can be observable, I think, in us if we just take a little time and are gentle with things. Gentle in the sense that we're not applying that kind of critical mind that so often plagues our daily life when we're not doing enough, when we're not good enough. That's why Bhante Gunaratana's reflections, cultivating loving, generating loving kindness, as he does. May I have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. So there's this recognition of qualities like patience and determination, kindness, and so forth. There's first of all a recognition, and something that spiritual life does. We may not recognize it happening when it does begin to happen, but over time it's a very important feature of spiritual life. The inner vocabulary that we have, to which we apply to everyday life, to which we apply to our own self-evaluation and our sense of success and failure, and that our vocabulary becomes more rich and more, I would say, in tune with things as they are, and also in tune with spiritual things of spiritual meaning and value. So, for instance, material success begins, hopefully to some degree, and I don't mean to say that being able to pay the rent and afford the necessary groceries, that these are simply material matters that we can discount in any way. Of course not. But since our society values and uplifts material success to the degree it does at this time still, we do need to give ourselves the language and offer ourselves the good advice that we need not pay so much heed to these things and value ourselves according to the size of our bank account. So seeing things coming together is maybe even seeing that is material success is no longer anywhere near as important as it once was. And so things coming together, this is just another factor in this. But also this sort of lexicon that we begin to internalize. Maybe all of you have some favorite virtues that you think of. Maybe not always in terms of yourself, but perhaps in terms of someone that you admire. Nevertheless, they are kind of active for you. So, words like patience and forgiveness and great words like virtue. What does that mean? Words like wisdom. These things, I think, being in spiritual life, and in our case, engaged in Buddhist practice, Buddhist life and practice, there are, of course, Pali words when they get translated, and so we take these words on board. They sit with us. We sit with them, and something happens. Some osmosis occurs. We see these things in ourselves. We recognize them in others, and that recognition in itself is a very valuable thing. Recognizing someone else's kindness, it makes it more. It enlivens that quality in ourselves as well. Draws it to us more deeply. Similarly with patience and in any of these fine qualities. So part of feeling things, recognizing that, things are coming together, it doesn't mean that we recognize, oh, that should mean that in 6 months I'll have finished. Or we're setting aside, we're working with, we're resisting the impulse of desire to have a fixed idea about what the final end is going to look like. Goodness knows, I mean, we do need some modesty in this regard, and let reality take care of itself. But to feel positive conditions coming together, and of course dissipating and coming together, and sometimes dissipating, changing, but to develop an appreciation for the process of spiritual practice. And an appreciation for the process of spiritual accomplishment, recognizing it where it occurs, however modest that occurrence is. This too is a very valuable thing to be able to give one's mind to. There's a lovely antidote to having a view when things are happening, when things are finished, and that this brings me back to another building story actually. But most of you probably know the name Lumpur Liam. Lumpur Liam was the chosen successor by Ajahn Chah to lead the Wat Pah Pong community, and ostensibly to lead the entire lineage that Ajahn Chah kind of founded. And now it includes 300 monasteries. it isn't to say that Lumpur Liam is involved in bookkeeping and saying yay and nay to every decision that occurs in these monasteries, but nevertheless, he has a role, and very much of his role is simply as a very, very wise exemplar. Anyway, one of the things he's known for, among many, is that he's a kind of building monk. He, I don't know, he has something like a grade 4 education, formal terms, but he's very learned and accomplished in Dhamma. But with this very, very modest formal education, still he can hold in his mind the plan for a 10,000 square foot Dhamma hall with, I don't know, 40, 50-foot ceilings. And, these are pretty big constructions. And he just developed these plans in his mind. So, and he's built many, many of these things. So he'll go with teams of monks to, excuse me, he'll go with teams of building monks to various sites and starts working with rebar and concrete. And he's really quite a remarkable human being. Anyway, when I think this would be when Lumpur Cha was still alive, but as you may know, in the last few years of Lumpur Cha's life, he had been struck down by a stroke. And eventually, in the last, I'm not sure exactly how many years, he could not speak. He was not ambulatory and had 3 shifts of monks looking after him around the clock, massaging his. He never got bed sores, and he was beautifully cared for by the community. So it was actually a great period of cohesion in the Wetpapang Sangha and the branch monasteries at that time. He passed away in 1992. Anyway, during this time, Lumpur Liam decided that he knew that Lumpur Cha would not live too much longer. So he could see that there was going to be there would be a very big funeral take place. There would be tens of thousands of people at Wetpapong. And just looking into the future, he knew that there was going to have to be a big meal hall, large hall. So the hall that the monks eat in now could sit, I don't know, a couple hundred monks, probably. It's a big hall, and so he set about to make this in preparation for when it was really needed, when Lumpur Cha, his teacher, had finally passed away. So he did that. So from time to time, monks from various branches would be coming and helping. There'd be teams of them. It's a very, very big project, and as much as possible, it was just done by monks and some lay supporters and so forth. So the story goes, one day, the work for the day had completed, and Lumpur Liam is in his kuti, relaxing, having some tea, and probably there are a few monks there, and the eating hall is visible from where they're sitting. And I don't know whether even the roof was on at this point, but it was going well. But there's an awful lot of work to do still. And there was a visiting monk there, and he was, he maybe helped out for the day. He just got there, and he at some point during this tea time, he looked to Lumpur Liam. He said, "Lumpur, when's it going to be finished? When's the Dhamma hall going to be finished?" And Lumpur Liam says, "It's finished." And and the monk, was confused, and he looked at Lumpur again, but the roof isn't complete, or whatever stage it was at. How could it be finished? And Lumpur Liam said, "What's done is finished. What's done is finished." So that is Lumpur Liam is sort of famous for his teachings are very succinct and often very, very deep. So, what would you say about that? It's a statement that comes out of contentment and wisdom, but contentment with a day's work, recognition that what has taken place is good enough. Podi, as they say in Thailand. And it's there. It's complete. That's where it is. That's what it is. His mind isn't going forward to what it should be. We made a mistake today, and this shouldn't have happened, and maybe I should have done this, something in this or that way. It just is what it is. And I haven't been around Napoleon a lot, but I have, on a number of occasions, and nothing is about his demeanor in any situation I have ever seen him in would indicate that there's anything less than just an ability to be fully present to what's occurring in the moment. And there are many stories that would reiterate and deepen that observation, certainly. So when we look at our practice and we're are things coming together? One thing we can say, because you wouldn't be here on an evening like this. You can be doing other things, and people have committed themselves. Some of you I've known for many years, even in some cases a few decades, and this in itself is a product of practice. It's a product of your intentions. It may not look like much. You're just sitting on your chair in your living room. It doesn't look like much. An observer would wonder maybe why we should be kind of interested in praising praising of your living room, your couch or what have you. But here we are, and it's up to you. It's up to us to observe and to take some sort of stock, honestly, modestly, of where we are, and just sort of feel ourselves and what kind of work is in progress. Do I feel that this is leading somewhere? And if you're still here after all these years, probably you can be confident that a positive answer should come out of that. It's the Dhamma is a perfect place to mature in, because anybody is going to mature. Take a 15-year-old and then add 40 years to him or her, and they will mature in some ways. The body will change, and they will their views about certain things will become clearer. Sometimes just clearer in the sense that they're more fixed. But the Dhamma is always working against that if we take it seriously, work with it. And the practice, therefore, acquires an agency in our life. We don't always recognize it. We can't always see it. We aren't always modest enough to allow that this is occurring, in fact. But when we have some time and we have some clarity and just a peaceful corner to sit in and look over our life, most likely we'll be able to see that there is a maturation occurring. And each of us was born with and has cultivated maybe some particularly good habits, and some habits that still kind of plague us. And, we're all a little different. We're all we've got still our rough edges, our sharp bits that haven't yet quite got smoothed over. Fair enough. We wouldn't be here if we were perfect. Oh, good. Here you can see, as usual, kind of rambling, but this is the theme I was given tonight, and if nothing else, just return to the gem of Lumpur Liam's observation. What's done is finished. Just let go and continue with a good heart, with a patient heart, with a generous and kindly heart. And the Dhamma just continues. It'll unfold in its own good way. So I'll leave you with these reflections tonight.
She's ready.
Om Damayang Damakataya Sadukarang Dadamase Sadhu 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 Anumodami.
We have a good period for questions, if there are any.
If you'd like to ask a question, the best thing would be if you can go to the reactions button, might be on the bottom of the screen, and raise your hand, then I can unmute you. I actually have a question, Ajahn.
Yes.
You talked about how we should take a look at before and after practice and sort of appreciate our progress, and hopefully we'll see the evidence of the fruits of the practice. But some days when you look for the fruits of the practice, you can't find it. So how do we deal with discouragement?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the first way to deal with anything, whether it's elation or discouragement or anything in between, is to be present to it. Yeah, things that we don't like, we want to avoid, or basically we resist. We think there's something wrong. It shouldn't be like this. Or the fact that I'm discouraged, that's a problem. What can I do with it? But we don't just sit. What is the texture of discouragement? Because when we sit with something honestly, it changes. It changes. So there's patience. There's patience there. Consciousness, awareness holds the moment, the period of discouragement. Honestly, there it is. It's like this. It's like this. It's going to change. And the first way it changes, and maybe the only way it needs to change, is that from being an object of your attention that you become aware of and then identify with, by being present to the discouragement simply as it is, there develops this space. There is awareness and there is this phenomenon of discouragement. And the awareness itself is peaceful, actually. If you can sit with it like that, the awareness is peaceful. And so the experience in that little move, it's very, very subtle. It might be the subtlest thing that any of us does, but the experience of that move is the peace that changes everything. And then we can also think in terms of skill. Okay, so what kinds of things can I do now? So you recognize, because sometimes we're in a state, maybe you're in an impatient state or a discouraged state, or just kind of one of those moods, and it takes a while, just as it does in the middle of meditation. Sometimes, it's 20 minutes in your meditation. Oh boy, where's my mind been? We don't get these aha moments right away. But when we do, then we've got something to work with. So you can change your mind. what are you doing at the time when you feel that discouragement? Sometimes just being aware, look at that. I've been feeling discouraged here. What can I do? Well, maybe that's the segue then to just changing. But why should I feel discouraged? Here I am, I'm still quite healthy, and I have this practice. I have these good friends. Sometimes it's just a matter of talking yourself out of it a little bit by reminding yourself of things actually or that are true. We're not trying to fabricate fictions in our minds. We certainly don't want to convince ourselves of things that aren't true, but just recognizing, wait, why should I be discouraged? In fact, um, I do these various things for people, and I know that I'm loved by a variety of people and appreciated, and also I appreciate my friends so much, and my meditation, almost never goes what I think of really, really well, but holy, I stick with it. That's actually quite a deal, actually quite a deal. Anyway, we just change our minds basically by reflecting on useful and true things about our nature, perhaps. How can a person be discouraged when they have grandkids they love and enjoy doing this or that for other people? I mean, actually, that's very lovely, isn't it? Um, Maybe all I need to do is go down to the dog park and see the dogs running around, just as happy as all get out, and that'll get me out of any kind of mood like this. So there are various things, some of them um, uh, uh, they might sound a little bit silly, but being willing to do something silly in the service of changing the mind out of some sort of dark mood, or that is actually very worthwhile. So sometimes when there's a kind of persistence of some mood, though, and depending on what you're doing and what your day is occupied with, sometimes taking it seriously and actually, okay, it's like you have a friend, and you've noticed that the last few times you've been with your friend, there's something that is being unspoken. Is there some sort of, did I say something, or am I a little bit angry with them about something? What is it? And sometimes we need to take, say, in that case, that friendship seriously enough just to call them up sometime. Look, I think there's something going on maybe with us. Can we maybe, when it's convenient, have a cup of tea and just talk things through? In other words, facing things. So sometimes we'll say when we're discouraged about something and it is kind of recurrent, then maybe we just need to, okay, I'm going to do some walking meditation for 40 minutes now, and then I'm going to go on to my seat, and I'm going to turn off my, I don't know, I'm going to turn off my cell phone or whatever, and just I'm willing to just sit with this. What is it? Is there something here? Why am I discouraged? Can I observe the texture, the experience of discouragement with sufficient honesty and just, here it is. Here it is. It's like this. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Let's see if it changes. Let's see if it can actually not change. Probably it has to change. Yeah. But so sometimes that kind of courage is required because recurrent things can come up that we just want to avoid. We don't like that. We don't like some experience that comes up. So maybe there's a tendency to be jealous about certain things that our friends have or something like that, and we just recoil from that. We never want to look at it. Well, this is a practice of looking at what's in our life, what the moment brings, and it could actually be quite beautiful just to sit with an experience, of aversive experience like that, and watch what happens to it when we're willing to just look at it. So a few things to try there. Hope something in there is helpful.
No, thank you. It's so what is interesting to hear is we don't just have to sit with it, forever, waiting for it to go away. We can actually, there are skillful means we could take to help ourselves as well.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
That's
You do a little thought experiment. Okay, what would happen if I just took this discouragement really, really seriously and allowed it to just begin to dominate? Why would I even begin to practice again? Why would I continue practice? Why would I, where would my life go? It's just this sort of spiral. Okay, if I really give it weight and take it really, really seriously. But of course, nobody wants to do that. What would be the point of it? In the end, there's nothing there. It's just a kind of it's just a series of thoughts and memories and moods that come together, and we give it a certain sort of label. It feels aversive. We don't like it, and we call it discouragement in this case. But when we really look at something, it changes because we begin to see the reality that underlies it. It takes practice, and it may occur with some other question that you might have before it does with that particular one. Who knows? But observing what works and then continuing to work with what works. We have to work with what works. We all have our temperament and our capabilities, and we're actually all of us quite good at some things. And just go with that. You don't have to be good at everything. The Buddha, he had whatever 84,000 teachings, but nobody needs to know them all. You just need to find a few that you can carry around in your purse or your pocket, or that really work for you. I can always make sense of these 3 things, these 6 things, what have you.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to ask a question of Ajahn? Please unmute yourself.
Well, you'll
Ask to unmute.
You'll have to raise the hand, or maybe just
raise a hand would be the best. There, Helen Easton.
Okay.
Okay, Helen, we're unmuting you.
No.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, can hear you.
Yeah, Ajahn, I'm not sure how you've been sick or but I was wondering how you've been dealing with probably something that you don't want.
Yeah. The first way I've been dealing with it is not to give too much attention to not wanting it. Yeah. I think I've had shingles. Okay, so it's a very long trajectory, and it's very disagreeable, very, very painful. The worst stages of the pain are behind me. I think patience has been where I have gone again and again. I mean, it's just you surrender to what's happening, and I think that's what our practice does. Things come up which are very beautiful and agreeable that we want. Wanting something and wanting something to be just so, that has its own consequences. So we're aware of the wanting in the midst of something which is agreeable. Something occurs which is disagreeable. We don't want it, but that isn't helpful either. But as I was saying to Howard, just having some experience and a little bit of success with being able to be present to what is very, very important. And I, to whatever degree I've been able to do that, it's probably what has conditioned this degree of patience, because wanting it to be otherwise doesn't change anything, doesn't improve the condition. But what it does is it puts me in a state of resistance to what's happening. This is just my present reality, you could say. There's a sense in which it makes no sense not to want what actually is presently here. It's going to be here whether you want it or not, in other words. But where my choice lies, where our choice lies, is that question of wanting, not wanting, liking, not liking. And if we can disengage from that binary kind of, it seems like that's the only choice we have, but in fact we have a middle. There is a middle to it, and that is just being aware of, just being present to what is in the present. So now that doesn't mean not trying to change. So we'll say, oh, this or this is happening with my condition. Perhaps I should try this ointment, or perhaps I should, do this or that. Or seek medical help, or it doesn't mean being utterly passive either. In fact, in this case, patience, or in a more general sense, being present to what is present, is actually a very powerful kind of action. And as I understand it, that's where our middle path lies. So it's the beginning of any kind of skillful action, to resolve something, or to address something, or to make certain changes needed or whatever. But first of all, you need to be present to what's occurring.
Mm-hmm.
That
I find if I'm able to say just unpleasant instead of I don't like this, if I go kind of label things like pleasant, unpleasant, 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 pleasant,
mm-hmm.
then if I can remember to do that, it's a little easier. I find I've had 10 days of insomnia where I wake up in the middle of the night, and now I'm kind of conditioned to like, oh no, I'm not going back to sleep,
Yeah.
And so I notice if I can, anxiety, it does pass and go on to other things, but I'm going back to sleep. But I have to kind of make peace with not going back to sleep and feeling not good the next day. Somehow I have to find.
Yeah.
It's just
very good. I mean, that's a very good example. A very good example, because in the first case, you're forming an identity around someone who doesn't like not to sleep, or what have you, and so that's the new me. Now I'm this person who likes chocolate cheesecake and my socks folded in this kind of way. Got this whole list of things you like, and now there are, of course, many things you don't like, and now so the notion of self-identity just becomes more and more complex. It's always changing and morphing into this and that way. But it's at the heart of it, there's just awareness, and all of those thoughts and forms of resistance and anger and self-recrimination or whatever else might happen. All of them are just they develop out of some our basic delusions about the nature of experience. So just as you say, I mean, you found some space there. We're looking for space in our experience. That's what enables us to see what's happening. And then, what can you, if you can't sleep, you can't sleep. I mean, if it's literally true, there it is, yeah. But then your choice is, well, I can be sitting here gnashing my teeth laying here for the next X number of hours, or I can just, well, here it is. Well, I guess I'm not sleeping. This is what not sleeping feels like. Huh. And it's actually much, much less unpleasant than forming the opinion that you ought to sleep, that it's bad that you can't sleep, that I hate not sleep. All the things that we do.
I'm going to feel rotten the next day. That's the thought that comes up.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a kind of cure. I mean, you've given yourself a good bit of advice, wait a minute, stop. I'll feel bad. Yeah. Anyway, everyone's been there, I'm sure, with various afflictions. And I sometimes used a kind of comparative measure too. I thought, ooh, it must be terrible to be, you know, I've known people who have suffered a lot more than with a few weeks of shingles, for instance. And so you develop a sense of admiration for what people develop the strength to endure. At some level, one hopes that there's patience that begins to inform the process. Just finding some space in the moment, doing what's needed for the body and the mind, but finding the space.
Yeah. I also pretend I'm practicing for when I'm, on my deathbed, kind of.
Yes, very good.
Yeah,
That's very good.
for when, things are going to be difficult.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a very good thing. One thing you could try too is if you can't fall asleep, then just, oh, okay, but I can always, I can always meditate here on my back, right?
I do.
What would that look like? Well, breathing in, breathing, just watching the breath go in and out. You'll, you may very well end up falling asleep, but it's kind of it's a healthy thing to be able to say to yourself, well, I couldn't sleep, but I got another hour of meditation in. I mean, that is right effort. That is right effort.
3 hours of meditation.
There you go.
But I got the last hour. It was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I did get a, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Ajahn, this is Hua.
Boy, yes.
Thank you for your teaching. The question that I was going to ask, I think you have answered it in the last two to the last two questions, but I still wish to hear a bit more about a formula that you gave a while ago. If it is not good, let it die. If it does not die, make it good. And I've been carrying that around with me for a long time, and still wish to know more about how to make it good if it does not die.
Yeah, well, it's lovely that you found that. That's a lovely quotation from Lamporcha, another example of his wisdom and just that simple way of using language. And it wouldn't occur to us probably to formulate it like that, but it's a lovely thing. And that's what our last person, is it Helen? Anyway, I mean, that's what we've been talking about, isn't it? So someone can't go to sleep. You're laying there, and it's a very disagreeable and it's worrisome. What will tomorrow look like if I actually can't sleep? I've got to do this and that, and I get paid maybe to do this and that. And if I can't, I mean, the mind can become very, very active and in a worried or resistant or angry, frustrated state. So if it isn't good, let it die. And so you think, well, what can I do to change this situation? How can I go to sleep? Well, maybe you can't, and so that's what we'd be just talking about in a way. If it won't die, then how do you make the best of the situation? You could say, and we've just heard that example. Well, make the opportunity. It is an opportunity in a way. Practice lying meditation. You could begin it with loving kindness. Any of these skills that we talk about, each time groups like this come together, any of these skills can be applied, and that's how some situation can be made good. But it's exactly right. And we have this creative intelligence, but also life surprises us, because sometimes we just feel we're not up to the task. I couldn't sleep last night. I can't sleep tonight. Here it is again, and I'm just helpless in this, and it's just awful. I don't like it. And then the kind of practitioner mind sets in. Wait. What? Is there any skill I can bring to this? Well, here I am. I'm awake. I'm in bed. It's otherwise quiet. I'm warm. It's peaceful and so forth. It's just I can't sleep. What can I do? What can I do? Well, I could lay here practicing meditation for a while. Can I remember that those reflections of loving kindness? Those are really beautiful. Thank you, Bhante Gunaratna, for those. And let me see if I can bring those to mind and see what happens. Oh, isn't that lovely the way the heart softens and my whole experience becomes more spacious. And I start to think, and then it brings some friends to mind, or my daughter, or my dog, or some people that I know to mind, just with this soft and loving spirit that I have. I mean, that is making good of something which is not good, isn't it? Or if we've been able to lay in meditation. So we have it's just a huge value to not just meditating, but to making some kind of study, some sort of modest study of Buddhist practice, and listening to teachings, and maybe reading if that's our interest. But as I said, each of us has particular temperaments. We'll find ourselves drawn to a little bit, listen. I like working with loving kindness, and I enjoy this. And walking meditation is good for me. I like reflecting on the virtues of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, or on other of the reflections. There are 10 reflections. You might call to mind. I find it very valuable and sobering to reflect on the inevitability of death, for instance. That really gets my attention. Oh, yeah, I always feel in a kind of sober and clear state when I've actually reflected seriously about dying. The inevitability of dying. Anyway, you're hearing teachings from many people, and you've been on retreats, most of you, and on and on. By now, you'll probably have 6 or 8 or a couple of dozen practices that you have to draw on. That's making something which is not beautiful into something which is beautiful, because you've made the very best of your time. Your energies are well spent. I'm happy to hear that you've sort of taken out and we carried around with you, because it's a very portable kind of notion. It's one of those truths which doesn't get tired. So well done.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Any other questions come to mind? Yeah, I had a lot of trouble sleeping for periods too. Man, oh man, and that's not usually a problem for me. So it was interesting. Well, nothing else comes to mind right now. Some of you, I hope, will be able to come to the session tomorrow, Day of Mindfulness.
Would you like to do the chant?
Sure. Maybe this is a good time.
Bring it up. There we go.
So now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world. May the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana. In every kind of birth, may I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge, unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble Lord. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled. Very good.